Ladies and gentlemen, you kind contributors to this channel, you kind colleagues, I say hello to you. We are back on air again. What we are going to talk about tonight is or are some issues that are trending. This past week, the Queen of England, Elizabeth II, passed on at the ripe old age of 96. She lived very long. Somehow, her history is connected to my own history, and it is one of the subjects that we are going to look into tonight. The show tonight will be an analysis of the response of an Igbo professor called Uju Anya. I understand that he lectures at the Carnegie Mellon University. The lady in question, Igbo, took umbrage at the departed monarch. Very angrily poured out her anger. And I understand that she was very angry because the Queen did not do anything to stop the slow murder of millions of Igbos when the Nigerian state, sponsored by Britain, nearly exterminated the Igbo people. Uju Anya felt that the Queen supervised it all. So, when her loved ones were mourning her, this lady, who certainly was still in pain, she mentioned that half of her family was annihilated. Of course, she was talking about things we can all relate to. The Queen that departed would have been a few years younger than my grandmother. The Queen had the best of life, but my grandmother had a very unhappy life because she lost two children, two sons, Ambrose and Cyprian, in the genocide that Uju Anya talked about. One of the earliest stories I had about my grandmother was that by 1970, Ne, that's Igbo word for mother, we called our grandmother Ne. Grandmother was sifting through the refuse dumps in our hometown, searching for the bodies of her children. But the Queen had the best of life. So, on her passing, an Igbo who was still hurting expressed her anger. And her anger trended as the news of the death of the Queen trended. But I always believe in getting water out of stone. The genocide that took place within what some have called Nigerian Biafra War was a tragedy of unparalleled dimension to the Igbos. But I believe that the Igbos should build on that disaster. And part of what I'm going to recommend tonight are some of the things I discussed with the Igbo people on my Facebook yesterday. I wrote, it's good to celebrate Uju Anya, the lady that angrily spoke against the silence or the acquiescence or the supervision of the Queen. Igbos are celebrating her. Many Igbos changed their Facebook profiles on Facebook pictures, profile pictures to her picture. I acknowledge that it is good to celebrate her. But then I asked, what are we doing to avoid genocides in the future? More genocides. Because even as I'm preparing this video, a sort of genocide is happening against the Igbo people, cultural genocide, and the Igbos are complicit in this. So, reading on, I said, note, cultural genocide is not less devastating than physical genocide, and many a time is the precursor to mass violence. And presently, cultural genocide, now perpetrated by Igbos, is being carried out against Igbos. Changing our profile pictures to Uju Anya's because of Messiah complex, which is afflicting many Igbos, and seizing cyberspace with rants isn't the way forward. The way forward is carefully looking at ourselves, history, and the world, and among other things, thinking. 1 billion Armenians were murdered, and the US government recognizes the atrocity as a genocide. And take my words, no canon of genocide studies lists the murder of over 3 million Igbos, even though I am pretty sure there may be more Igbo than Armenian academics and wealthy people. I'm a scholar of genocides, I know what I'm talking about. What happened to the Igbos is not even called war crimes, massacre, ethnic cleansing. So even if they did not fit into genocide, don't they fit into at least massacres? I read the Oxford Handbook of Genocides from cover to cover. The publishers did not list the series of actions that clearly amount to genocides, war crimes, ethnic cleansings, and now the question is Igbos. Why did what happened to you not matter to the world? Also, Igbos should think, why are Igbos still threatened every day? A Nigerian woman, well-educated, influential in the government, holding a position in the government, mounts threats against the Igbos every now and then. Genocide starts from demonizing an ethnic group, ridiculing its identity, pretending that it doesn't matter, pretending that they don't exist. When you get yourself to the stage that you can talk about inheriting an ethnic group's resources, you are one step away from genocide. But I do not see efforts by the Igbo people, by the leadership of the Igbo people, to counter these threats that will ultimately be harbingers of genocide. I'm not one of the recognized leaders of the Igbos, but I offered myself to serve. And I took a very deep look into the history of my beloved people. I understand what is going on. This ethnic group has not had rest for at least 500 years. History is not in any way doubtful that a single majority, a simple majority of the people taken out of Africa during the transatlantic slave trade were of Igbo stock. You can imagine the toll on the society. The families torn apart, the wars, people are mourned. Stepping out of this, or stepping away from this, the Igbos had the rare distinction of being the only ethnic group that breathed and waged war against its religion. There is a very important people that inhabit the south of Nigeria alongside the Igbos, the Yorubas. Historians are of the view that while the cross entered Yoruba land before the guns entered Igbo land before the cross. The Yorubas had already accepted Christianity before some of their monarchs, and the British began to go to war. But in the Igbo case, Igbo land had to be devastated. It was only recently that I read that Onitsha was burned down by the British. This does not appear in any history book. Imagine from the wars between the Igbos and the British, Igbos were amalgamated into the country called Nigeria. And even their enemies will acknowledge that they practically built this country for the British and the Nigerians. They did more than any other group. But barely 6 years after one of theirs, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, led this country to independence. By the way, Zik was the mentor of majority of the independence leaders of majority of the countries in Africa. After he led Nigeria to independence, the genocide that Uju Anya called out the Queen for began to happen before the full glare of humanity. One ethnic group has had to go through all this. But as the Igbos will say, what are the solutions? What do we do to make amends? Railing against the Queen in anger is a response to wounds, to injuries, to pain. But more can still be done. I would have been happier if Emeka Anyoko, the Secretary General, the former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, had led a group of Igbo elders to the British government to complain that what the British did in Igbo land, did to the Igbos, was not less than what the British did to the Kenyan Mau Maus. Britain would listen. Many powers are listening now. The Anglican Church has apologized for its role in the slave trade. The Catholic Church has apologized for the forced conversion of Africans. The same Catholic Church has shown remorse for some of the things it did to the Jewish people. Probably, if Emeka Anyoko had led a delegation of Igbo leaders to England, to Britain, to complain, probably Britain would have expressed regrets. And this would be a step to healing the Igbos, healing the British, and healing Nigerians. Because when the perpetrator owns up, admits, this is what I've done, I am sorry, the perpetrator sets in motion the process of healing. Germany is recovering because it owned up to its crimes against the Jews. Germans and the Jews, represented by the State of Israel, are best of friends today. Igbos are not going to ever retaliate but Igbos need to be placated. Everybody that suffers injury need to be placated. As the Igbos will say, Ndo ada anonya mano na-edudobi. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us hope that he will make the right capital out of the expression of anger by Uju Anya. Thank you for listening. And I'm going to stop, but again, I will plead. Subscribe. Ask your friends to subscribe. Share this video. Please share this video. Thank you.